The narcissist's false superiority complex. Please accept my warmest greetings. In today's video, we'll be looking at why and how narcissists have such a high opinion of themselves. Why is it so hard for narcissists to admit when they're wrong, and why do they pretend to know more than they do? Please consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoyed or learned something from this video. Narcissist is not just shorthand for someone who can be a little annoying or self-absorbed at times. Narcissists put themselves and their wants and needs ahead of everyone else's. It's terrible, but society as a whole has become colder and less caring for its fellow humans. They're not open to criticism, they're envious of everyone else, and they think everyone else should be envious too. Envy is the root cause of competition in most people. Narcissistic wound is commonly used to describe someone who is successful, intelligent, or has done something that might be damaging to one's ego. Anyone from complete strangers to romantic partners to employees to even one's own children is capable of inflicting such emotional wounds. It's because of this that one-upmanship occurs so regularly as people try to outdo each other. If they can't better themselves, they'll try to make others appear bad. Let's take a look at some of the most common methods narcissists use to boost their own self-esteem. These actions are typical for them. In the first place, they use falsehoods to impress others with how smart and talented they are. Narcissists can attempt to minimize the significance of another person's education by arguing that their own degree was more important or took more work. Also, they can only say they have a few diplomas but no real degrees. If they have the necessary expertise, they may also use the phrase fully qualified to describe themselves. They could say they have the necessary credentials to operate a forklift, install electrical wiring, or treat neurological disorders. A narcissist who isn't informed on the subject may feel pressured to provide a false answer to a question in order to make a good impression. However, if they're talking to someone who knows their stuff, they might switch gears really suddenly. Now they could get very defensive and violent if they are challenged or told they are mistaken about something. The issue occurs when they say they were misinformed, lied to, or made to look ridiculous in response to being challenged by a superior, such as a manager or supervisor at work. Has no bearing on how little they know. Second, they employ language to appear more intelligent than they actually are. To some, the word precipitation might be used interchangeably with rain when discussing the weather. Ever notice how narcissists season their verbal gumbo with words they think make them sound smart? Literally, reasonably, and nonetheless are some terms they might use to elaborate on their point. They could also use jargon that only specialists understand. Someone who doesn't know the issue well can't offer constructive criticism. From time to time, they are exposed to terms that they find intellectually interesting. They comprehend the meaning of these phrases, but use them in humorously offbeat ways. The narcissist may criticize those around them for being too thick to understand such simple ideas if they don't get what they're trying to describe. Third, they only hang out with people who are just as smart, wealthy, famous, and socially advanced as they are, and they appear to be a part of that elite group. That's the sort of thing that might serve as an example of what goes down in the workplace. Maybe you've seen that one of your coworkers is always chit-chatting with the higher-ups. They may have a negative impression of others who are at the same skill level as themselves. Some workers might even try to act like managers by making decisions about when their coworkers can take lunch, assigning tasks to others, and monitoring their progress. 4. A predisposition to take charge. They are the ones who take charge when things go wrong and lead initiatives in the right direction. The situation may call for advice on legal matters, despite the narcissist's lack of legal experience or medical guidance. Advice on how to deal with a difficult neighbour or where to find an affordable home are just two examples of the kinds of things they might suggest. Despite their insistence that they never know what's best, there are moments when they actually do. It's more likely that they enjoy the enticing effects of their own voices and the ability to influence others. If their suggestions work, they will be able to say, "I saved you." If things aren't as bad as they seem, they can respond, "Well, I was working behind the scenes to save you." If things don't go as planned, they might try to blame something else or blame you for not doing it their way by saying something like, "Well, I never said that." Perhaps they would even create a disaster in order to save the day. To prevent a conflict from breaking out, it's important that they don't start spreading rumours about either party. Number 5, they are rarely right when they give counsel, and there is always something wrong with it. They'll come up with a plan B or figure out how to improve the situation. Alternately, they may paraphrase what they overhear that could be valuable and present it as their own. To rephrase, if everyone in the group agrees with the notion, then it must be correct. They may start looking for problems where there are none or that aren't particularly important. Instead, they may insist on a modest change so that they can feel like their opinion matters. 6. To back up their claim that they have exceptional empathy, narcissists sometimes point to tests or scientific evidence. Narcissists would say they scored quite highly on an online empathy exam. It's possible they were told by a therapist that their worries were unwarranted. They could have an intelligence comparable to that of a genius. It was verified by yet another experiment. If you pay attention, though, you'll notice that nobody ever sees them take these tests or finds out the results. These tests will be used by narcissists to inflate their abilities, qualities, and altruism. Or they'll utilize the data to brag about their great job while making excuses about how their family life is holding them back. 7. Because it would be too devastating to their delicate ego, they will never change their convictions. A character's flaws would be exposed if they just quit trying. It could be an indication of weakness, fault, or blunder. In dealing with other individuals, narcissists usually use and exploit the same techniques. It's possible that they'd answer to any questions or criticism with a dismissive laugh, a roll of the eyes, a wave of the hand, or nothing at all. They don't care about the evidence staring them in the face. Rather than challenging the validity of an argument or a person's standpoint, they often take a personal stance and attack the person themselves. It could mean bringing up the other person's weaknesses, no matter how long ago they happened. Narcissists would make fun of someone's company, age, and attractiveness. The habit of making broad assumptions about an individual by slapping them into a predetermined box is common. Narcissists will undoubtedly attack their rivals' credibility in an effort to bring them down. How much of a scientist do you think you are? Shouldn't we get a lawyer? Whether the other person is a lawyer or a scientist, just getting a high grade in a subject isn't enough. Narcissists are cognitively biased, thus they constantly search for the weaknesses in the opposing view. When it comes to their own safety, narcissists would rather attack others than take any preventative measures. Narcissists may also choose to deliberately mislead others, constantly exaggerate, fabricate, and even become belligerent if challenged. That would be easier to defend than admitting you don't know something or are wrong. They are bad, dishonest, or exploitative because they are right and are more successful than you are. But if the host is feeling down in the dumps, the party might easily turn into that. They could have excelled in life, but they compromised because they lacked confidence, were denied a chance, or faced other obstacles. Because of their closed-mindedness, people with pathological narcissism rarely grow up. Also, Their delicate egos make it hard for them to give in without looking weak. Most narcissists make their own problems considerably worse, attempting to look better by making increasingly foolish choices, which they do all the time. All in all, narcissists can make others believe they are better than they are by using these 7 strategies. Evidently, there is a lot more I could have said. Put in your 2 cents in the comment section below. If you liked this video and found it useful, please consider subscribing to my channel so that you can receive future updates on topics relevant to mental health. Keep checking back for further information.